The University of Laverne, originally named Lordsburg College, was founded in 1891. Its humble beginning began with the newly founded school purchasing the Lordsburg Hotel for only $15,000. This Victorian-style hotel was home to all of the functions of the college, contained 130 rooms, and served as the only structure on the campus until 1918. In 1918, Miller Hall, the first new building to be built on campus, was completed. The college, in need of more functional space, decided to add an administration building. This new addition to the campus was completed after the school raised $154,000. The new structure, Founders Hall, was complete and ready to open in 1927. The construction and completion of both Miller Hall and Founders Hall marked the beginning of campus development for the University of Laverne and are hallmark buildings for the campus.
And so Lee Newcomer, who was president at that time, and I was assistant to Lee Newcomer, said to me, there's got to be a more creative way to build the space that we need for the University of Laverne. And this building behind us was actually sketched out on a cocktail napkin. We weren't drinking at that time at the University of Laverne, but we were in a cocktail lounge, and he had a cocktail napkin, and he sketched out this building on that cocktail napkin. And he said, we'll cover it with woven fiberglass covered with Teflon. And I said, Newcomer, you've gone too far this time. And we created the super tents. And it was really the vision and the creativity and the forward-looking nature of Lee Newcomer that made all of this possible. And
This innovative addition to the campus attracted local, regional, and national attention. It was the first permanent tension membrane structure in the world. Its canopy was made of woven fiberglass fabric coated with Teflon and was constructed for less than $3 million.
Over the years in the life of an institution such as Laverne, programs change, people change, we add buildings, values may stay the same, but the demands on our facilities do change. Technology changes that, added enrollment changes that, new buildings might house functions that used to be in old buildings. And I think one of the interesting challenges on any campus is to refurbish a building, bring new life to it. This area of Laverne was once one of the citrus growing capitals of the world. And for those of us who have been around the area for a good many years, we remember the beauty of the groves. We remember smelling the blossoms in the spring, harvesting of the fruit in the fall. And pieces of that harvest were to bring all of that fruit down to a packing house, to put it in boxes, and people worked in rows with conveyor belts and put the fruit in the boxes and then loaded it on the trains. There's a packing house that now has become a part of our campus. It's right on the railroad tracks. It used to be the Lemon Packing House here in Laverne, and now it's the Communications and Art Building. Again, we've given an old building a new life.
The Campus Center project, I mean, that was really, as you know, one of the first major construction projects that the university had undertaken in more than, 2 decades, in terms of a new facility, 40,000 square foot facility. And they had hired, the team that had hired Gonzales Goodale, architects based out of Pasadena who were very good, but very, they weren't functional. It wasn't functional space, it was beautiful space, aesthetically lovely space. On a piece of paper, on a rendering, stunning, which was great for a capital campaign. But it didn't have a lot of function to it in terms of real student life. Oh. So I got pulled in by Roger initially in those meetings when I was still in student affairs, and we began to talk about spaces. And Roger didn't know. I mean, Roger knew construction, Roger knew, but he didn't know student unions. And I was involved with the Association of College Unions International. I had served on the board of trustees for that organization and a couple of other different roles, national conference chair, etc. So I knew student unions backwards and forwards. And so in those initial meetings, I would say, no, this space isn't going to work because this is how students are going to navigate it. And I remember them talking a lot about getting rid of lounges, that we didn't need lounges. What are people going to do? People aren't just going to sit and trying to explain the value of lounges, and that the student union should be the hearthstone of the campus and the living room where people come and can recreate and play billiards and study and do all of those kind of things. And it was just almost like a foreign concept. Although they had the student center it hadn't really been utilized in that same way in recent years. So I came in probably 6 months into construction, right when they were laying the footings, and learned everything on the fly. Learned how to read plans, learned about geopiers and French drains and data drops and everything. And Roger really took me under his wing, and I was kind of on loan from Student Affairs to really learn everything about the building. I learned a lot. I mean, it really was a tremendous opportunity. And at the end of that project, as you know, it came in under budget, came in a little ahead of schedule, and it was a transformative space for the university. I mean, it was a, hey, we're here, we've arrived kind of moment. And then, just that facility has really, when you talk with students now, they can't imagine this campus without it.
No.
They see it as such an anchor of programs, activity, life, the glass on the front. It's really lived up. They own it, they feel ownership of it, they feel like it's their building.
Some impressions?
It's quite a building. It's spectacular.
Yeah.
Each one we build gets bigger and better, I think.
Yeah.
So this will be quite a landmark for Laverne.
The large multi-purpose building is perfect for what, banquets and...
Banquets, receptions, it can be divided into, meeting space. We've got nice storage so we can move tables in and change the room around from a banquet situation to an auditorium type situation in just, less than an hour, which is really nice.
And of course the building is completely wired for audio video, isn't it?
Yes, they're completing that now.
Computers?
It's LEED certified, which so it's very energy efficient. There's patio space, there's going to be plants up on the roof off of one of the patios, so it's very nice, very functional building.
The Sarah and Michael Abraham Campus Center was completed on June 30th, 2009 with a cost of $26.1 million. The 40,000 square foot, 3-story complex houses several administrative departments and serves as a gathering place for students.
Stadium was a great project. It wasn't as much as we had hoped. Obviously the bleachers and stuff. The challenge with the stadium is that there is ADA issues throughout. And once you change out those bleachers, you're adding restrooms, ADA fully accessible restrooms, you're adding parking spaces, you're adding a lot of things infrastructure-wise that really kick up the dollar amount. So our charge in the beginning was leave the bleachers as is, which athletics did not like, and you're just going to renovate the field. And the old track had narrower lanes. So I did a lot of learning about what did NCAA Division III, how wide are the lanes, how many lanes we needed, and we had to shift the track, shift the whole thing initially, because obviously the bleachers can't move.
Right.
So the only land I had was on the other side towards the tents, and clearly the tents is a fixed structure. So we had to shift a little bit that project in order for it to fit in there, and we had 3 inches to spare on the. So that's why as you go down the animal house, the animal facility, that's why it's right there. I had no space left to be able to shift and get all of the lanes and the turning radiuses that that they needed in that space in order for it to work. So it was just it was very complex. And during the middle of that project too, we hit transite pipe underneath that we didn't know was there.
Transite?
Yeah. So transite's like an asbestos pipe.
Oh.
Yep. And so we in construction, when you're doing construction, especially when you're in old areas, you can hire a company to come in and do modeling of what is under. They can kind of shoot sonar or whatever into the ground, and it hits off stuff, and it tells you, there's a pipe here, there's an electrical line here, etc. So you know not to hit it. Transite goes right through. There's nothing for it to reverberate off of. So during the middle of the project, one of the first kind of budget hits we had was there was a transite pipe that was all along the former First Street. When First Street used to come straight through.
Right.
First Street kind of ducked down under the stadium. When it came through, that transite pipe there was all still there right around, the 10-yard line.
And still being used.
And was still being used. So we hit it, broke it to smithereens, and so now you have to bring in outside crews. You have to immediately shut down your work You have to bring outside crews that have to completely take out that pipe from stem to stern and make sure there's no dust, no particles. You know, there's all kinds of AQMD things you've got to do to make sure that that thing is removed appropriately. And so that was one of the first big hits. You know, all of a sudden people don't have water in the tents, people don't have water in, you know, various buildings, and you're kind of scrambling. And then the double whammy is that it was the transite pipe, which, you know, people didn't, you know, freaked out about.
Wow.
So, but that project was a good one. We got it done again on time.
The original stadium was constructed in 1990 and was first used during the football season of 1991. After 9 months of construction, the renovation of Ortmeyer Stadium was complete in the fall of 2012. The newly renovated stadium featured artificial turf and a state-of-the-art track, allowing the university for the first time in years to host a track meet.
Since 2009, which is not that long ago. I mean, it's just 7 years ago that the campus center kind of opened its doors. I mean, look at the expansion of this campus. Vista Laverne, 106,000 square foot residence hall. I mean, is huge. You know, that increased the square footage of the University of Laverne by 1/5 with one building.
Wow.
1/5 of our square footage increased. But Vista was built in 2 phases, real quick. The old tennis courts. Baseball season was still going on, so we built phase 1. You know, we began digging and everything until we got to the end of baseball season. They went to the playoffs that year, which I always root for our teams to win, but that was the one year I did not want them to win because I needed them off that field so that we could build.
Yeah.
And we're able to get it done.
The much-needed dormitory project began in the summer of 2011 and was completed in 2012. At the time of its completion, Vista Laverne was the largest building on campus and increased the campus size by 1/5. The massive 101,000 square foot structure is home to the nearly 10,000 square foot campus store on the ground floor and 378 students.
And then the parking structure, you know, that's the latest and last. And so that project it turned out really well. It's the easiest project we've done.
Really?
Easiest. Piece of cake. There's no end user. The end user's us.
Yeah.
The end user is my department. So I don't have to work with athletics, I don't have to work with the music, I don't have to work with housing or student affairs or anybody. The end user's my department.
Except for campus safety, I see.
Yeah, but campus safety is part of our group. So really it was the easiest. There was no, you know, all the decisions were kind of in-house with it. And so we had a number of challenges with it. The soil conditions were really poor.
Oh, really?
In that area, really poor. So the initial design we had, so this is the way it worked, just very quickly. We kind of had worked with Baumel Construction. We had a whole process. Baumel Construction was ultimately the group that was selected. They were by far the most qualified. They built over 350 parking structures in the United States. And so they came on board, began to work with us, and began initial design stuff. We paid for some initial soil sampling to kind of get prepped and know. We paid for, we had to relocate some sewer drains and stuff that we needed to do. We city sewer drains, $400,000 in city sewer drains. We began to kind of price it out, and I felt very comfortable with the $16 million price tag. We thought it'd be really 14.3-ish, but you always kind of, there's contingency. So Clive goes to the Board of Trustees, gets it not to exceed $16 million. He comes back and it's, you know, stamped, approved, we're going, we're excited, we've got plenty of money to do it and do it right. And boom, that soil report came back the very next day. And the soil report said the way you're designing it isn't going to work. You've got to completely redesign the way that the structure is going into the ground. You're not going to be able to have the piers like it. So we had to do these kind of geo-piers into the ground, completely redesign it. Well, that was almost a $2 million hit in construction to the budget. So now it wasn't as rosy. We didn't have all that money, so we had to begin to kind of scale back and kind of make it work. So the solar was our firewall. Hell or high water, we were going to put solar in this project and make sure it got in. That was $700,000. So anyway, so the project, you know, we were able to get it done. We also knew that there was this mega El Nino that we were going to get hit with that year, and it was supposed to rain nonstop for all these months. So we, very early in the project, I had them working weekends. We had them working late hours to try and get ahead, so when the rains did hit, that we'd be ready, you know, we'd be okay. We did a bunch of planning and reshuffled things to get kind of the site work done and get some topper on so that you didn't have just exposed soil. so that you wouldn't have runoff and a bunch of swept issues. The rains never came. They never came.
Yeah.
So we had all this. If Clive would call me at home and said, I'm watching the news right now. They say the rains are coming. And I was like, just fine. We're getting ahead. Don't worry about it. Are you ready? Are you sure? It has to be done by the fall. Clive, we're ahead. I'm telling you, we're ahead of schedule. How much are we ahead? I'm not telling you. I wouldn't tell you. Not telling you how much we're ahead. So internally, we knew we were about 12 weeks ahead. But we didn't want to tell anybody else that, because once it goes out, it's gone. Then it's, the story expands. Oh, you're going to open up tomorrow, kind of a thing. So, the rains never came. So ultimately, we were able to slow down at the end. We were able to pull guys off the job, save some money and staffing, slow down at the end, and we finished a full 6 weeks ahead of schedule with no mega rains.
The most recent development, the parking structure, is the largest structure on the University of La Verne's campus. The $16 million project that was completed in the fall of 2016 holds 940 parking spaces and with sustainability in mind features solar panels. The University of La Verne's campus has transformed throughout the past 125 years. Beginning with the Lordsburg Hotel and its first development on campus, Miller Hall, it has continuously expanded and grown to meet the needs of students, faculty, and the community. Campus development is a never-ending process, and the university will continue to pursue innovation and expansion while maintaining the values that have served as the cornerstone